it feels like we're just drowning in information these days.
Absolutely. It's just constant everywhere you look.
Yeah, like a tidal wave hitting you.
Right.
And if you're actually trying to learn something, really make it stick.
Uh-huh. Something complex, maybe?
Exactly. Could be for work. Could be studying, I don't know, an ancient text like we are today. Just reading it over and over.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't always cut it, does it?
No, not really. Repetition alone isn't always enough. We need, well, better tools.
Yeah.
Different ways in.
So that's what today's deep dive is all about. We're focusing on just one single line of ancient text, Proverbs 20.1.
Mm-hmm.
And we're using this incredible kind of multi-layered memory system that you, our listeners, shared. It's fascinating.
She really is.
Our mission today isn't just translating. We want to really unpack the Hebrew words, look at these pretty surprising visual tricks used to remember them.
Mnemonics, yeah.
Right. And then, and this is where it gets wild, dive into this elaborate spy story, an allegory, that uses these very images to teach the verse's moral point.
It's a remarkable system, I think, because it anchors the knowledge almost immediately. And this verse, Proverbs 20.10, it centers on our senses.
The ear and the eye.
Specifically the ear and the eye. And it brings up that really fundamental question about them. Where did they come from? Who made them?
So we're focusing on what the text actually says about ear, listening, eye, seeing.
And the idea that both of them were, made or created by the divine, that's the core.
Okay, so let's build this from the ground up, the linguistic framework first. Before we get to spies and vixens, we need the basic words, right? The building block.
Exactly. There are 8 key Hebrew words that make up this entire verse.
All right, so from the source lists you provided, we've got the physical organs first.
Right. We have ix-min, that's ear.
Not an ear.
And then on the beat means and, so it's and an eye.
Ear and an eye. Simple enough so far.
But then it gets more active.
Ah, the actions. Okay, so we have šōmaʔat. That's listening or hears.
That's right. Listening or hears. And for the eye, yivro, which means seeing or perceives.
Listening and seeing.
And here's a key linguistic point. Both shmafa, listening, and roseeing, they're feminine, singular, active participles in the Hebrew.
Active participles. So what does that practically mean here?
It means it's not describing passive reception like sound just happening to the ear. It's describing the ear and the eye as these constant living agents of action. They are doing the listening and the seeing.
Huh. Okay. So they're designed for active work. That makes sense.
Precisely. And that grammatical detail, it adds a layer of weight, to the idea that our senses have an active purpose.
Which probably makes the later moral instruction, the correction part of the allegory, even more pointed.
Exactly. Okay, so the remaining words tie it all together. We have YHWH.
The divine name.
The divine name. Then ūāsa. This means to make, to do, or to produce.
Make, do, produce.
Okay. Then flipam. A small but important word. It means also or even.
Also, even.
And finally, tehem, which means both of them, referring back to the ear and the eye.
Okay. Ear, listening, and an eye, seeing, YHWH, made, also both of them. 8 pieces.
8 pieces. And some are pretty abstract, right? Made, also both of them. This is where just rote memorization can get tricky.
Right. And that's where this visual system comes in. It takes these potentially abstract words and turns them into concrete physical images, things you can actually picture.
Exactly. It shifts you from just translation on a page to visualization in your mind, makes it stickier.
And the images they chose are, well, they're specific and definitely memorable. Let's take Kiese. The visual isn't just a drawing of an ear.
No, that might be too boring or too literal.
It's a rabbit.
A rabbit? Why a rabbit?
Well, the idea is specifically it's long, upright ears. They're very prominent, right? Always listening, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. Maybe signaling hearing, but like you said, maybe also hinting at vulnerability, that constant exposure through the sense.
That's a neat interpretation. And it connects to the action word for listening, šōmaʔat. The image for that is
a bat.
A bat, which is perfect, isn't it? Because bats rely so heavily on hearing.
Echolocation. It embodies that active, almost hyper-focused kind of listening. It's not passive at all.
Okay, so rabbit for the ear itself, bat for the act of listening. Makes sense. And we see the same pattern for sight.
We do. You have the physical eye and an eye, and then the action of seeing.
And the image for rohu seeing, is a telescope.
Right. A tool, something that implies intentional, focused, active sight, looking at something distant, trying to perceive truth or information.
So again, it's about the active nature of the sense.
Exactly. But then here's something really powerful within the mnemonic system itself for YHWH, the divine name.
What's the image?
There isn't one, intentionally.
No image at all.
No image. It leaves this kind of silent, empty space in the visual sequence. It respects the idea of the name being perhaps ineffable, undrawable.
Wow.
But it also clearly signals that this divine source, YHWH, is the sort of silent center of gravity for the whole thing. Its absence makes it present, in a way.
That's actually quite profound for a memory trick.
Okay.
Okay, but they weren't shy about being a bit more playful with the others, right? Like making or doing, right?
For so, the image is pottery.
Pottery, like a clay pot.
Yeah, exactly. An earthenware vessel, something that's clearly been crafted, skillfully made, or produced. It embodies the concept well.
Okay, pottery for made. That works. But I have to ask about the bubble gum.
Ah, yes.
For the word gam, meaning also or even, the mnemonic is bubble gum. I mean, it's creative, I'll give you that. But doesn't that feel a bit silly? Does it risk trivializing the proverb?
That's a fair question. And I think the system kind of accepts that potential absurdity, but purely for the sake of locking it in your memory.
How so?
The point of the mnemonic isn't the, inherent meaning of gum. It's the sound cue. Gam sounds like gum. It's just meant to be an immediate, almost unshakable anchor for the word.
Okay, so it's just a hook.
It's a hook. And the narrative that follows, the spy story, that's what gives the gum its actual weight through what it does in the plot. We'll get to that.
All right, I'm trusting the process. And the last one, both of them.
That one's represented by folded cardboard, like a piece of cardboard folded in half.
Folded cardboard. Okay. Any particular reason?
The idea might be that when it unfolds, it connects or reveals two sides, representing the both. Or perhaps its action in the allegory gives it meaning. It's another anchor.
Got it. So rabbit, bat, eye implied, telescope, no image, YHWH, pottery, bubble gum, folded cardboard. That's our visual toolkit.
That's the toolkit, and this is the pivot point, really. The system doesn't just stop at visualization. That's only step one.
Right, because just knowing the words and pictures doesn't necessarily embed the verse's meaning or its moral lesson.
Exactly. So it applies these words, these images, through this really elaborate high-stakes story, a narrative, to make sure the whole message, not just the parts, truly sticks.
Okay, here we go. This is where our memory aid suddenly turns into, like, a spy thriller. The source material you pointed to, the Vixen and Rabbit spy activity and correction. It jumps right in using the verse numbers.
It does. It uses the structure of the verse itself, 20.12, to set the scene. It's quite clever.
So how does that work?
The vixen represents the number 20. She's positioned as this guard up on a rooftop. She symbolizes sight, watchfulness, and importantly, the need for correction.
Okay, Vixen is 20, the lookout, and the 12.
And the number 12 is represented by a lever. It's the action device, the thing the vixen is ready to pull to, as the source says, correct the scene.
Correct the scene, meaning stop the spying.
Precisely, to start bringing the senses, the ear, and the eye back to their proper function.
So now the mnemonic images, the rabbit, the bat, the telescope, they become characters or props in this spy plot.
Exactly, but they're shown in a state of misuse. Their purpose is twisted, highlighting the dangers the proverb implicitly warns against.
Okay, so let's see it. The rabbit, our image for Jason, ear. What's its role?
The rabbit is the spy. It's using its ears not for wisdom or understanding, but for eavesdropping with bad intent. Misusing the ear.
Stealing secrets, finding weaknesses.
Exactly. Using the sense designed for truth to undermine it.
And then it gets weirder, right? The transformation.
It does. The spy, the rabbit, its body transforms into the bat body. Our image for šōmaʔat, listening,
So the active listening sense.
is now being used for deep infiltration. Analyzing sounds not for truth, but for malice. To navigate in the dark, metaphorically speaking. It's the total opposite of the proverb's intention for hearing.
Wow, that physical transformation idea is powerful. It's like the misuse actually warps the tool itself.
I think that's the implication. And sight is just as corrupted in this story. The eye, the physical sense,
What's it doing?
it's described as glaring with desire, looking for selfish profit, looking at things it shouldn't be, misusing what should be, perhaps, a gate for truth.
And the tool for seeing, the telescope.
That's the spy's key instrument. The act of seeing is now about actively stealing distant information. But its purpose is distorted by impurity. It becomes a tool of espionage, not enlightenment.
So we have the ear misused for eavesdropping, the listening sense warped for infiltration, the eye glaring with greed, and the seeing tool used for spying. Sensory anarchy, basically.
Pretty much a complete distortion of the intended design.
So the vixen on the roof, our number 20, sees all this. She has the lever, number 12. She pulls it. How does that action actually connect to the other words? The pottery, the bubble gum, the cardboard?
This is where the allegory gets really clever in tying everything back together. When the vixen pulls the lever, action happens.
Okay.
The pottery, our image for Asa made, slides forward. Remember, pottery symbolizes something made or produced. Here, it acts as the made mechanism of correction.
Oh, what does it do?
It becomes a physical shield. It slides into place and blocks the spy's telescope view.
Ah, so the thing that was made physically stops the misused seeing.
Precisely. The creation itself, the symbol of divine making, is what obstructs the misuse.
Okay, that's cool. But the bubble gum, I'm still picturing, pink gum. How does that fit into a defense system?
Right. It seems absurd, but think about its property. Stretching, elasticity, tension.
Right.
When the lever is pulled, the bubble gum also stretches, not just floppily, but creating tension. And it pulls other things along with it.
Like what?
It pulls the cardboard also and the pottery also. Remember, gam means also or even. The stretching gum applies this also-ness, this amplification or constraint, to the other corrective elements.
So the gum provides the pulling force, the tension, that makes the barrier stronger or brings it fully into place.
Exactly. It acts as an amplifier and a constraint. The somewhat silly image gains a serious structural role, providing the kinetic force, the tension, needed to reinforce the shield against the misused senses. It connects the also to the action.
That is clever. It completely repurposes that playful mnemonic. It's the agent applying the obstruction also to the pottery shield.
Right. And then there's the final piece, the folded cardboard. Him, both of them.
What does it do?
As the gum pulls and the pottery slides, the folded cardboard opens up. It unfolds, straightens out.
Yeah.
As it straightens, it provides the final push. It completes the defensive barrier, stopping the runaway senses of both the ear and the eye. The action of the cardboard unfolding is what forces the senses back, blocks them fully.
Okay. Rabbit spy eavesdropping transforms into a bat body for infiltration. Eye glares, telescope spies. Vixen pulls liver. 12. Pottery slides to shield. Bubblegum stretches, pulling also. Folding cardboard unfolds, pushing both to complete the block. That's quite a sequence.
It is. It weaves every single element, the words, the mnemonics, even the verse numbers, into a single dynamic, memorable story.
So let's step back from the action for a second and synthesize. We've got this whole spy plot showing the misuse of senses. Where does the correction, the pivot back towards the intended purpose, actually happen in the story? Is it really just that moment the pottery shield slides into place?
I think that's the crucial turning point, yes. The moment the pottery, the symbol of Asa, the divine act of making, physically intervenes, the narrative confirms the core idea. The only way to correct the misuse is through the mechanism inherent in their original design.
The design established by the maker.
Exactly. The ear is meant to hear, the eye is meant to see, but according to this interpretation, they only become truly good or fulfill their purpose when they're aligned with the creator's original intent. The allegory shows what happens when they aren't aligned and how the making itself provides the correction.
So when you put all these pieces together, the careful Hebrew breakdown, the quirky visual mnemonics, this incredibly detailed spy allegory, the final message is actually quite simple, isn't it?
It brings you right back to the verse itself, but now hopefully deeply embedded in your memory. The hearing ear and the seeing eye, the Lord hath made even both of them.
Proverbs 20.12.
That's the one. And remember, YHWH, the divine name, the one with no image in the mnemonic system.
Yeah, the silent center.
Right. That silent center remains the baseline, the source of the original intended function for both the ear and the eye. This whole elaborate allegory, the spy story, it's ultimately just a really creative mechanism to stop you, the learner, from forgetting that foundational statement of divine origin and design.
It's like a mental shortcut to not just the words, but the weight behind them, making it accurate and memorable.
Precisely. Knowledge that sticks.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, here's maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on. Something building on this contrast between design and misuse. Well, if the creator designed our senses, the ear, the eye, symbolized perhaps by that vulnerable rabbit's ear for wisdom and truth, What might be a modern equivalent of the bad body from the allegory?
Ah, the warped listening sense.
Yeah. Is there a contemporary tool, maybe a digital platform, or even just a way we consume information that represents that kind of active, focused listening or data gathering, but used primarily to analyze and infiltrate, not for truth, but maybe for hidden profit or manipulation or just selfish gain?
That's a provocative question. It definitely encourages us to think about the intentionality behind how we use the senses and the tools that extend them today.
Were these amazing tools, our senses, fundamentally made to observe truth, or are we sometimes deploying them, consciously or not, to serve the inner spy?
And the deep dive into this verse, through this whole system, really suggests that the choice of alignment, well, ultimately that's up to each of us.